Feeling stuck? Yearning for more? You're in the right place. This is Midlife Moxie with Nicole Haight, where you're going to get a weekly dose of courage, clarity, and maybe a little bit of chaos as we navigate our best chapter yet, midlife. Welcome back to Midlife Moxie with Nicole Haight. I am your host, Nicole. On the release of this particular episode, we are coming up on that time of year again. The gyms are about to be packed. You might be seeing more diet ads than normal, and the world might be screaming at you, New Year, New You. And I am here to call bullshit on all of it. What if this year you didn't try to become a new you? What if instead you had the audacity to become more of the woman who you already are underneath all of those layers of good girl conditioning and self-improvement garbage that you have been force-fed your entire life? Welcome to the new year and resolutions. And today we're going to talk about how to approach the new year with Moxie. We're going to ditch this shame-fueled, failure-guaranteed hamster wheel of New Year's resolutions, and we're going to step into revolutionary acts of setting intentions. This isn't about fixing what you may consider to be broken. Think of it as honoring what is emerging within you. Because let's be honest, how many Januaries have you started with a long list of resolutions, feeling a surge of manufactured hope, only to find yourself feeling like a failure when February came around? Maybe you were going to lose the 20 pounds, or meditate every day, or just finally get your shit together. And when you didn't, you added another layer of shame to the pile that you were already carrying. This is not an accident. There is an entire self-improvement industrial complex out there designed to make you feel inadequate. It profits from your self-loathing. New Year's resolutions are its Super Bowl. Think of it as a coordinated assault on your own self-acceptance that might be whispering to you that you're not enough, you're a problem to be solved, or a project that needs managed. But here is the sacred truth about New Year's resolutions. They're just good girl conditioning dressed up as self-improvement, and they are designed to keep you performing rather than living. New Year's resolutions fail because they're built on a foundation of not enough. You're not thin enough, productive enough, organized enough, or disciplined enough. The entire premise is that you need to fix yourself before you're worthy of what exactly? Is it love, success, or basic human dignity? It's all bullshit, and it is exhausting. These resolutions almost always come from external messaging about who you should be rather than an authentic desire about who you actually are. They're goals created to make other people comfortable with your existence rather than goals that honor your soul's actual hunger. And for women, this toxic messaging goes even deeper. Our resolutions are almost always about making ourselves smaller, quieter, more convenient, or just more palpable. Lose weight. Be more organized. Stop being emotional. Get better at time management so you can do even more for everyone else. Master meal prep so your family is fed without you being a burden. It's all self-abandonment with a vision board and a gym membership. We've been taught to approach January 1st like it's a performance review where we get to critique everything wrong with us and then create an action plan to become more digestible to the world. But here's what no one talks about. Resolutions fail because they're rooted in shame rather than desire, punishment rather than pleasure, external validation rather than internal truth. They fail because you can't willpower your way out of conditioning that has been installed since childhood. They fail because you're trying to fix parts of yourself that aren't broken. They're just inconvenient to the people who needed you in compliance. And when they inevitably fail, you get to spend the rest of the year feeling like a failure, which conveniently also keeps you small, apologetic, and easy to manage. For those of us in our 40s, 50s, or maybe even 60s, the pressure is uniquely brutal. We are at an intersection of cultural invisibility and cultural scrutiny. You're supposedly past your prime, which is complete, utter nonsense, by the way. So you better work twice as hard to stay relevant, to stay attractive, to stay valuable. The messaging is relentless. There are anti-aging routines, hormone optimization, age-appropriate behavior, reinventing yourself before you become obsolete. January rolls around and suddenly you're supposed to reverse aging, reclaim your youth, lose menopause weight, find your purpose before it's too late, and do it all with grace and gratitude because at least you've made it this far. It's exhausting before you even start. And what might even be more brutal is that by your this age, you've been performing goodness for decades. You've been reliable. You've been caretakers. The one who has sacrificed herself for everyone else's comfort. You spent years and maybe even your entire adult life building a resume of self-abandonment. And now you're tired, bone tired, soul tired. But instead of being given permission to rest, to rage, to burn down what is no longer working, you're told that this is your chance to finally focus on yourself, but only in ways that make you more palatable. Lose weight, downsize, simplify, make room, become smaller so everyone else can breathe easier. The new year at this age has another added cruelty to it. The thought of reflecting on everything that you haven't accomplished, yet while being shamed for wanting more. If you're ambitious, you're still trying to prove something. If you're angry about wasted years, you're bitter. If you want to blow up your life and start over, you're having a midlife crisis, which is just a secret code for women finally choosing themselves and making everyone else uncomfortable. You can quote me on that. You can't win. The game is rigged to make you feel like you've run out of time while simultaneously pushing for you, acting like you still have some sort of agency. It's challenging because you're at the collusion of running out of time. You've already had your turn. Don't be selfish now. And why haven't you figured this out yet? It's cultural gaslighting on steroids designed to keep you striving, performing, and apologizing for taking up space. So it isn't in making better resolutions that I want to talk about. It's asking yourself what you actually want when no one else is watching, when there's no applause, when there's no gold stars given out for being good, because that's where real power lives. And that is what the cultural conditioning has taught you to ignore. So what's the alternative? What's the difference between a resolution and an intention? Resolutions are orders you give yourself from a place of inadequacy. Intentions are invitations you extend to yourself from a place of possibility. A resolution might look like, I will go to the gym 5 times a week or I'm a failure. It's rigid, it's punishing, and very much has an all or nothing state to it. It's a cage dressed up as a goal. An intention says, I want to feel strong and alive in my body. It's flexible, curious, oriented towards desire rather than discipline. Can you feel the difference in your nervous system between these two? One probably is making you tense up, and the other is allowing you to breathe. Resolutions are about controlling yourself into compliance with external standards. They're rooted in the belief that you need to be fixed, managed, improved, or optimized. And they come from the part of you that learned to perform for approval of others. Intentions are about aligning with your authentic desires and values. They're rooted in the belief that you're already whole and you're simply choosing what you want to cultivate. They come from the part of you that remembers who you were before you learned to be good. And here's what makes intentions more aligned with Moxie. Because Moxie is dangerous courage, authentic power, audacity to choose yourself, even when it makes others uncomfortable. And intentions honor that. It says, I'm going to orient my life towards what actually serves my soul, not what makes me more convenient to manage. It gives you permission to be messy, human, responsive to what you actually need, rather than locked into what you said you'd do on January 1st when you were still drunk on champagne and cultural pressure to become someone better. Intentions also honor the reality that you're a living, breathing human, not a robot that needs reprogramming. Life happens. Grief shows up. Anger arrives. Your body has needs. Your energy shifts. And resolutions treat all of these as failure and weakness. Intentions treat these as information about what you actually need in this moment. Intentions create safe space for your authentic self to emerge, which is exactly what good girl conditioning taught you to suppress. So it's not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming fully yourself. Dangerous, powerful, inconvenient, and the magnificent version of you that the world needs, but has been too scared to be let out. So what does it look like to approach the new year with Moxie? It starts by asking a different question. The self-improvement grind asks, how can I fix myself? But Moxie asks, what am I done tolerating? And I believe that this question can change your entire mindset because it shifts the focus from your supposed flaws to the systems and situations that are draining your soul. Moxie is the courage to tell the truth about your life, even when that truth is inconvenient, uncomfortable, or makes other people nervous. Moxie approaching the new year doesn't ask how can I fix myself? It asks, what am I done tolerating? The self-improvement grind says you're not enough. So here's a 12-step plan to become acceptable. It's rooted in shame, fueled by comparison, and measured by metrics that were never yours to begin with. It's the hamster wheel of constant optimization where the finish line keeps moving because the point isn't to arrive, it's to keep you striving, performing, and too exhausted to question the system itself. Toxic positivity says, just be grateful. Everything happens for a reason. Good vibes only. It's spiritual bypassing dressed up as enlightenment. It silences your anger, your rage, dismisses your grief, and gaslights you into believing that if you're not happy, you're doing something wrong. Toxic positivity requires you to perform contentment while your soul is screaming. But Moxie is completely different. Moxie says, I'm not going to look directly at what's not working, but I'm going to honor my anger about it. And then I'm going to make dangerous choices about what comes next. It's honest without being cruel. courageous without being reckless, and grounded in authentic desire rather than external expectation. Moxie doesn't need you to be positive about a situation that's killing you. It needs you to tell the truth about it so you can actually change it. Approaching the new year with Moxie looks like asking these types of questions. What have I been tolerating that I'm no longer willing to tolerate? What parts of my life am I maintaining for other people's comfort? What would I do if I wasn't afraid of being called selfish, difficult, or too much? Where have I been performing goodness when I should have been demanding change? What am I actually hungry for when I strip away all of the shoulds? Moxie honors your anger as sacred data. It's information instead of something to transcend. It says you're furious that you've spent 20 years in a career that drains you. And that's good because that anger is telling you something important. So let's listen. The self-improvement grind would say, here's a course on finding your purpose in your current role. Toxic positivity would say, at least you have a job. Practice gratitude. But Moxie says, your soul is dying in that job. And that matters more than the 401k. So what do you actually want? Moxie makes space for messy, imperfect, and the very human reality of change. The self-improvement grind demands perfection. Hit your goals or you're a failure. But Moxie says, I'm going to stumble, backtrack, and have days where I want to burn it all down. And that's part of the process. But it's not proof that I'm broken, that I'm done for, that I'm toast. Moxie doesn't care if you start the year with a clear vision or a total disaster. It doesn't require you to have your shit together, know your 5-year plan, or radiate positive energy. Moxie just requires honesty, courage, and the willingness to choose yourself, even when others might be uncomfortable. That's it. That's the act. Approaching the new year with Moxie isn't about becoming someone new. It's about becoming more honestly yourself, dangerous, powerful, inconvenient, and free. And my friends, that terrifies the systems that you're immersed in that need you compliant. And this is how you know you're doing it right. But you may be asking yourself, how do I do this? How do I set intentions that honor who I'm becoming rather than fixing what I think isn't working, what's broken? So here's the process. Step 1, you have to tell the dangerous truth. Before you set a single intention, you have to get honest about what is actually happening in your life right now. Not the Instagram picture perfect worthy photos that you're showing the world or that you're posting to social media. Not the I'm fine version that you're telling people at the holiday parties you're attending. No, this is the real, raw, and uncomfortable truth that you have to face. So grab a journal and finish the following sentences without censoring yourself, without overthinking. Write what comes to mind first. I'm exhausted by, I'm furious about, I'm done tolerating. What's actually killing my soul is, if I'm brutally honest, what I want is, this isn't wallowing in your own miseries or pitying yourself. This is data and you're collecting it. The anger you feel is information. The exhaustion is information. Grief is information. And you can't set authentic intentions until you actually know what you're working with. Step 2, you have to separate authentic desires from the good girl conditioning. And this is tricky because now you're figuring out what you want versus what you think you should want. And good girl conditioning is very sneaky. It will dress itself up as compliance, as aspiration, and call it authentic desire. For every intention you're considering, ask yourself this: if no one ever knew I did this, if there were zero applause, zero recognition, zero gold stars, would I still want it? And if the answer is no, after you give deep thought about that, then this is not an intention for you. Consider it a performance and cross it off your list. You can also ask, does this make me more convenient to manage, or does it make me feel more alive? And if after you think about it and you start to feel smaller, quieter, more convenient or palatable, yeah, that's the good girl conditioning. And that is not authentic desire. The intentions that honor who you're becoming will make you more inconvenient, more authentic, and more powerful. And yes, they're probably going to make other people squirm. That's how you know you're on the right track. Step 3, name what you're becoming, not what you're fixing. Instead of starting with what's wrong with you, start with what's emerging in you. Think of it this way. You're looking at your life, a particular part of it, and you're seeing all the things wrong with it. But unpack how deep the layers of the burial go. What's underneath all of these emotions that you're feeling? Because it's a weight, and that's a difference. So instead of telling yourself, I need to lose weight, you might want to say, I'm becoming a woman who moves her body with pleasure, not punishment. Instead of, I need to stop being so emotional. You can try, I'm becoming a woman who honors all of her feelings as sacred information. Instead of, I need to be less selfish, try, I'm becoming a woman who's choosing herself without apology. Can you feel the difference between each of these? One is rooted in shame and fixing, and the other is rooted in possibility and honoring. This isn't fixing yourself. This is uncovering the woman who has been buried under decades of the conditioning. Step 4, ask what needs to die. Before you can become who you're meant to be, you have to let die what you've been pretending to be. And this is probably the one that most of you want to skip over because it's uncomfortable. But the Moxie within you does not shy away from the hard stuff. So ask yourself, what version of me am I done performing? What role am I ready to exit? What belief am I ready to burn? What relationship dynamic needs to end? What career identity am I clinging to out of fear? We're going to let the good girl die here. She might be the chronic caretaker who martyrs herself, or the woman who apologizes for taking up space. You can't become who you're meant to be while still performing who they need you to be. Something has to be sacrificed, and it might as well be the parts of you that weren't real to begin with. Step 5 is setting intentions rooted in values, not outcomes. This is where most resolution setting goes sideways because it focuses on specific outcomes. Lose 20 pounds, make 6 figures, read 52 books, instead of values like embodiment, financial sovereignty, wisdom. Outcomes are external and often outside of your control, but values are internal and always within your reach. Your intentions should answer this question: how do I want to feel? And who do I want to be as I move through this year? Not what you want to achieve, but how you want to inhabit your life. Maybe your intention is, I want to live with more pleasure and less punishment. Or I want to honor my anger instead of spiritually bypassing it. Or I want to choose myself, even when it makes others uncomfortable. Or just simply wanting to exit systems that require you to be compliant. These are value-based intentions. They give you direction without caging you to specific metrics that turn into more opportunities to feel like failure. Now, I need each and every one of you to know that I am not sitting over here on some enlightened throne with all of this shit figured out. I am in the trenches with each and every one of you, struggling with the same conditioning, fighting the same voices. So let me share my own messy human journey with this. For years, I was a slave to hustle and grind culture. 40+ hour work weeks were my badge of honor, even though they were leading me into straight burnout. I was dying inside while I was looking successful on paper. So this year, I decided to set an intention that I'm becoming a woman who honors her energetic rhythms instead of performing productivity. So I started a new business schedule to work with my energy instead of against it. I took off Mondays and Fridays from client work. And even as we're ending the year 2025, my body still resists this sometimes. Decades of those 40+ hour work weeks have taken a toll on my mental mindset. The voice still shows up, the one that is whispering to me, I'm lazy if I'm not working more, that I should be working harder, that taking 2 days off from client work is indulgent and irresponsible. And I know that that hustle and grind culture did a real number on me mentally and physically. I know that it led to burnout. I know that I was dying on the inside while I looked successful outside to everyone else in the world. See, I know all of this intellectually, but I still have to constantly remind myself of it because good girl conditioning doesn't just disappear because you understand it. It lingers. It whispers. It tries to pull you back into past performances. So yes, I am the woman telling you to honor your rage and exit the systems that harm you. And I'm also the human woman who struggles with making her own Mondays and Fridays days off. Both things are and can be true. I don't have this shit figured out, and I'm practicing alongside you. But what honoring my energy has created, even while I'm fighting the nagging voices, using my schedule for no client days has allowed me to get a lot of other things done in my business. As a one-woman show, it turns out businesses need more than client delivery. They need strategy and content and systems and vision. Because I protected those 2 days, I was able to put this podcast out into the world this year. I've been writing on my blog weekly. I've published 2 books and workbooks. I've grown my mailing list. My social media stats have increased. And I've gained new clients, actual new clients, even though I'm working less. Mondays and Fridays, I keep my schedule open for self-care when I need it. It could be a massage or a pedicure or a visit to the bookstore, or sometimes I just grab my things and go to a coffee shop and work for a change of scenery. These are things that feed my soul instead of just my bank account. So even though I have to fight that little voice nagging at me that I'm not working enough, and even though some weeks I still feel guilty for only working 3 days with clients, the proof is evident. Honoring my energy and my time has allowed me to grow professionally and personally. Results don't lie, even when my conditioning does. And it's been the same with my own journey with my body. For the past 3 years, I've been on what I'm going to call a body journey. Notice I didn't say weight loss journey because it has been more than that and so much messier than the before and after transformation stories that the self-improvement complex is selling you. 3 years ago, I started working with a personal trainer. I had a workout plan, a nutrition schedule, macros to check. And the whole performance, it worked. I lost almost 40 pounds. I was showing up and doing the things and seeing the results. So by external measures, I was succeeding. But then I decided to go it solo, partly because I felt ready, partly because I was apprehensive as hell, but I was trying to trust myself. And in that transition, I got bored with the workout plan, which is totally normal for me. But at the time, it felt like failure. I found another weightlifting program to switch things up. I kept the nutrition plan on track because it was working. And despite doing everything right, I gained almost 10 pounds back. So cue the self-doubt spiral. About a year later, I hired another personal trainer, not because I failed, but because I needed someone to reinforce that I wasn't crazy, that slow progress is still progress, and that my body wasn't completely decimated because it wasn't performing on the timeline that I had demanded. We worked together for a few months, and then she looked at me on a Zoom call and said, "You're ready to go it alone." And I believed her. And since then, I've lost weight again. I've found a new love for Pilates. I've started trusting my body with yoga, despite being a clumsy oaf who's uncoordinated, struggles with balance, and is inflexible as hell. I show up anyways, not because I'm trying to perfect myself, but I'm learning to inhabit myself. And 3 years of this journey has taught me that I've learned to love my body, not in the way that an Instagram wellness guru, where I pose in expensive branded clothing and caption it with toxic positivity. I mean real love. The kind that says, this body gave life to my children. This body has been through surgeries and illnesses and has bounced back every single time. This body is a marvel of what it can do, not what my anxious mind likes to tell me I can't. And at 50, I'm probably the strongest that I've ever been. And yes, I do have parts of me that defy gravity, though. And I'll probably always battle the scale, but the number on the scale doesn't tell the whole story. And I have to remind myself of that often, and probably more often than I'd like to admit. But I work out these days not to get ripped or shredded or to perform some aesthetic ideal of what I should look like at this age. I work out to fight whatever medical conditions may come my way as I age. I take care of me so I'm not a burden on my husband or my kids in the future, or at least that's the hope. My body allows me to do the simplest of things: walk, hike, move through the world. Things that some people cannot do. I focus on being strong in mind and strong in body these days. That's my intention. Not a number on the scale, not fitting into a certain size. Strong mind, strong body. That's it. Notice what these intentions have in common. These aren't about fixing me, and they're not about becoming someone else. Neither one has a neat timeline or a perfect outcome. My intention isn't to lose 40 pounds by June. It's to build strength and love this body as it is. I'm not working in this business to make 6 figures by working 60 hours a week. It's to honor my energy and see what becomes possible from there. Both of them are messy, ongoing, full of days where I have doubt, backslide, and I have to fight my own decades of conditioning telling me that I'm doing it all wrong. That's what real transformation looks like. Not the social media pretty version. It's the human version. The one where you just figure it out as you go. And you have some days that are wins. And some days you have not wins. Some days you gain the weight back. Or you might feel guilty for taking a day off. But you choose to keep going anyway. That's Moxie. That's what intentions rooted in values instead of outcomes actually look like when you live them. Imperfect, real, and honestly, better than any resolutions that I've set. So let's put words to it and feel the difference between the language of punishment and the language of permission. The resolution looks like lose 20 pounds by March. But Moxie, I'm reclaiming pleasure in my body after decades of performing thinness for other people's comfort. I move when it feels good, rest when I need to, and stop apologizing for taking up space instead of work out 5 days a week. You can try it. I'm learning to listen to my body's wisdom instead of punishing it into submission. Some days that's strength training. Some days it's angrily dancing in my living room. And some days it's just rest. I'm done treating rest like failure. Instead of be a better wife, partner, or mother, try I'm ending the performance of being the good wife and becoming an honest partner. That means saying what I actually want, expressing what I actually feel, and letting my relationship either evolve with me or not. My authenticity is not negotiable anymore. Instead of be more patient with my aging parents or adult children, you could say, I'm releasing the role of the family caretaker because it's killing me. I'm learning to say no without guilt, set boundaries without apology, and let other adults experience the consequences of their choices. My martyrdom serves no one. Instead of practice more gratitude and positive thinking, you might say, I'm done spiritually bypassing my legitimate anger. I'm becoming a woman who honors rage as data and information, who makes space for grief without rushing to healing, and who tells the truth about what's not working instead of slapping an affirmation on it. Instead of finally figure out my purpose, you might want to try, I'm releasing the pressure to have one grand purpose instead of honoring what calls to me right now in this season of my life. I am becoming a woman who follows her curiosity instead of performing certainty about her supposed calling. Do you see the pattern here? Every Moxie intention starts with I'm becoming, because transformation is a process, not a destination. Again, reminding you that they're rooted in values of authenticity, sovereignty, pleasure, honesty, instead of hard metrics. They give permission for what good girl conditioning may call selfish or difficult. They honor your emotions and the full spectrum of all human emotions. And they position you as emerging. Typical resolutions are just going to always keep you performing. Moxie intentions set you free. Choose accordingly. Now, should you want to choose this path, I forewarn you, there will be pushback. The world needs you to stay on the self-improvement hamster wheel. So how do you handle cultural pressure when New Year, New You is working against what you're actually working on, which is accepting yourself as you are? Opting out of the self-improvement mindset hamster wheel requires fierce boundaries and daily practices. You are swimming against a cultural current that has been designed to keep you dissatisfied, striving, and spending money to fix problems that you probably have never had. So the first practical step is to protect your attention. Look, you're not going to be able to completely opt out of the self-improvement industrial complex while still consuming propaganda on the social media for a doom scroll of 12 hours a day. Unfollow, mute, or block. Those are your keys. If you're following an account that makes you feel like you're not enough, you have to use one of those. Unfollow, mute, or block. And yes, even if these are friends, even if it's somebody that is considered inspiring, If you scroll past their content and immediately feel inadequate, they're not serving you. They're selling you. And it's inadequacy with a bow on it. Wellness influencers are going to be pushing January detoxes. They need to be gone. Before and after transformation accounts, goodbye. Anyone whose entire brand is, look how disciplined, thin, productive, optimized I am, you need to let them go. Unsubscribe to email lists that are trying to sell you a better version of yourself. The ones that are going to come to you in the subject lines, New Year's sale, transform your body, your business, your life. Just delete without reading. Set up email filters if you have to. Protect your inbox like it is sacred space, because it is. Verbal boundaries, because there are going to be actual humans who are going to pressure you, that you know, in the life that you've bought into, that they're buying into the New Year mythology and they want you to join them. And they mean well, but it doesn't mean you have to participate. If someone asks you about your New Year's resolutions, you need to be ready, armed, and prepared. You can say, I'm not doing resolutions this year. I'm focusing on acceptance instead of improvement. I'm opting out of the New Year, New You thing because it's never served me. I'm working on liking myself as I am, which feels more authentic than just trying to fix myself. Say each of these matter-of-factly, without apology or explanation. You don't owe anyone a dissertation on why you're not participating in their resolution culture. If they push back with concerns, but don't you want to grow? Don't you have goals? You can say, I'm growing just fine, thanks. My goals are none of your business. You can walk away or choose to change the subject. And the hard part here is people are going to judge you. They're probably going to say things about you that you're unmotivated, you're lazy, you're complacent, and that's their business. And that doesn't have to be your problem. What they say says more about their own anxiety around not constantly improving than it does about you. You're not responsible for making them comfortable with your choices, and their discomfort is certainly not your emergency. So instead of January being about what's wrong with you and how to fix it, create your own meaning for the month. Take back your time that has been colonized by self-improvement culture. Maybe January just becomes a month of rest and reflection. This is a time where you're not setting goals. You're just noticing what wants to emerge. You're not working on fixing something. You're getting curious about yourself. It's not optimizing, it's integrating. Or maybe January looks like a month of pleasure, doing things that deliberately feel good to you, not things that make you better. You might want to read trashy novels or take long baths. Eat foods that you enjoy, sleep in. This is all actively resisting the cultural pressure to start the year off with punishment and discipline. Or maybe January just becomes your month of anger, writing down every message that you've ever received about not being enough. You can burn that shit. Honor your anger at the systems that are profiting from your own self-loathing, letting rage and anger fuel your resistance. The whole point of this is that you get to decide what January means. You don't have to accept the cultural narrative that it's time to do a complete overhaul on yourself. That narrative is propaganda, and you are allowed to reject it entirely. Remember, acceptance isn't resignation. At this time of year, all of the self-help, self-improvement, diet culture is somehow going to try to feed you a narrative that accepting yourself as you are means you're giving up, you're settling, or becoming complacent. And that is complete and total bullshit. It is designed to keep you spending money on their solutions. Acceptance is radical honesty about who you are right now with all your humanness without needing to fix anything. That doesn't mean that you never change or grow. It means that change comes from a place of curiosity and authentic desire, not shame and external pressure. It means your growth is organic and it's not forced. It means you're allowed to be a work in progress without being a project. You can accept yourself exactly as you are and still want different things for your life. These aren't contradictory. The difference is the energy behind it. Self-improvement says you're not enough until you have achieved this. And acceptance says you're already whole. And here's what I'm curious about exploring from that wholeness. Opting out of the self-help, diet, self-improvement culture in January is going to be hard, but you can do it. You're refusing to participate in a system that is profiting from your self-hatred. This is you rejecting the narrative that you need fixed. You are choosing acceptance in a culture that is based on dissatisfaction. It's going to feel weird. It's probably going to feel rebellious. And it's definitely going to make some people uncomfortable. And the discomfort that others feel is good because it means you're doing something dangerous. You're suggesting that maybe, just maybe, you were always enough. Every time you opt out, you make it easier for the next woman to opt out. Every time you refuse to participate in the New Year, New You performance, you're cracking the foundation of the system. Every time that you're choosing acceptance over improvement, you're modeling a different way of being that other women desperately need to see. So here's what I want to leave you with today. This journey of setting intentions with Moxie instead of shame-fueled resolution is not a one-time event on January 1st. It's an ongoing practice of truth-telling, rage honoring, and dangerous choosing. You will mess it up. You will backslide. And you will have days where you want to burn every intention that you've set to go back to being the good girl because it was familiar. And these aren't failures. That's part of the process. Moxie does not require perfection. It just requires honesty, courage, and the willingness to keep choosing yourself, even when it's messy, uncomfortable, and makes other people nervous. So let me remind you that you are not a project to be fixed. You are a woman emerging. And that woman is magnificent, dangerous, and exactly what the world needs, even if the world isn't ready for her yet. For all the women out there who are choosing themselves over the systems, you're making it easier for other women to do the same. Every time you refuse to perform the New Year, New You hustle and dance, you put a crack into the system. Every time you've set an intention that is rooted in values instead of shame, you're modeling a different way of being that other women desperately need to see. So this year, choose her. Choose the woman you're becoming, not the one that they needed you to be. Choose intentions over resolutions. Choose acceptance over improvement. Choose Moxie over performance. And watch what happens when you stop trying to fix yourself and start living as yourself. That's Moxie. That's revolution. That's how we change the world one woman at a time who has actively chosen to be dangerously and unapologetically enough. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Midlife Moxie with Nicole Haight. Now I want you to go set some dangerous intentions, and I will see you next time. Before you go, I want to make sure that you know how to stay connected to this work, because what we have talked about today, this is just the beginning. If you're sitting there thinking, holy shit, she just described my entire life, and you want to know exactly what patterns are running the show in your life, I've created something specifically for you. You can head on over to my website, www.nicolehaight.com, and take the assessment, which sacred pattern is running your midlife. It's a free diagnostic tool that will tell you exactly where you are in your own conditioning and what your next steps should be. There's no fluff, no generic advice, just precise information about your specific patterns. Because here's the thing, you can't interrupt what you can't see. And most women are trying to change their lives without understanding the deeper nervous system conditioning that is actually driving their choices. If you want to dive deeper into these conversations and connect with other women who are also done performing their way through life, you can join my private Facebook group. Link will be in the show notes. And it's where we have conversations, real, raw, unfiltered truth about women in midlife. And if you want to be on my VIP list for weekly doses of truth that maybe help keep you accountable to your own transformation, there is a link in the show notes, but there's also a link at my website, www.nicolehaight.com, where you can sign up to be on my email list. This isn't a typical newsletter filled with tips and inspiration, though I do include that from time to time. This is a newsletter where I share hard truths, insights, raw, unfiltered things that are just not socially acceptable on social media. And these awarenesses that you can take away from what I share can be a catalyst for change. So I invite you to sign up. And if you're ready to go even deeper, because you might be tired of all of this surface level work and you really want a whole system level transformation, everything you need to know about working with me is on my website, www.nicolehaight.com. I'm not a coach, and this isn't coaching, and it's not therapy, and it's sure as hell not spiritual bypassing. This is a resurrection of the nervous system. And this is for the woman who is ready to stop performing and start living. You can also follow me on Instagram, Threads, and YouTube at I am Nicole Haight, where I share reminders about conditioning and women and midlife, confronting truths and desires that are just frankly not up for negotiation. So next week we will continue to have discussions that likely will make some of you squirm. It is what I'm best at. But if this episode shifted something for you, do me a favor and leave a review. Not because I need an ego boost, but because there are women out there who are Googling, why do I feel invisible in my own life at 2 a.m.? And your review might be what helps them find this podcast. Your review could also be the breadcrumb that leads another woman out of performance prison and into her own resurrection. So until next week, remember, you don't need permission to want what you want. You never did. That was just conditioning dressed up as consideration. You're a woman in midlife. You don't need permission. You just need to have desires and wants and the ability to be able to go after all of them. So stop asking and start claiming.